Hey everyone, this is James from TDB bringing another Inbetweenisode. Today I am going to be doing a ripe Inbetweenisode, so drinking out of the big blue pot. And this is the Green Miracle from 2015. And this is an episode Denny and I filmed that I just rewatched. It's a couple apartments ago for me. I think we filmed this 2015, 2016. So this is one of those teas that caught the Pu'erh world by storm, the small Pu'erh world, still small now. And was quite popular for a stretch there. And people debated this versus Yongmo Han. So I did rewatch that old episode just before watching this, and I think we had kind of pegged it as sort of an interesting ripe, and I set my cake aside, have not really consumed it, and now I've been kind of drinking through it. So I'll probably finish this cake pretty soon. Some people have expressed that this is their favorite ripe of all time. For me, it doesn't quite reach that, but I do think this is a nice above average tea. In that episode, we talked a little bit about how this is lighter fermented. Another thing I was looking at while reading Scott's description of the tea is there are spring leaves in this, which is pretty rare for ripe. Usually you're not putting your best, highest quality leaves that you're going to get a high price for in ripe. I forget, this might be Mungheim material too. So, all those things are kind of good signs for kind of like a very potent ripe. So, here we are. I think this is brewing a little darker, than it did, back in the day. Meanwhile, I'm going to work on another steep here too. And going to make sure to brew that, give it a nice push. Cheers. It's at the point now, it being about 8 years old, almost 9 years old, that I think it's a lot less obvious this was lighter fermented. While it does kind of have a little bit of a hint of kind of potency there, as far as like the bitterness and things like that, which is something that a lot of people were noting back in the time. And this is a different bitterness than like Lao Man type bitterness that really, really is pervasive. It's a little more subtle in a tea like this. So you can detect maybe a little bit of that, but it's only really if you are searching for that sort of profile. I think it's a little less on the surface. And just sort of like a V93 after you give that tea, I don't know, a decade or so. It's really hard to tell, even if the storage is relatively light, that it was kind of lighter fermented. Or at least I find it to be more difficult to tell as time goes on. So it just kind of becomes part of the tea and becomes a little more integrated in. So here we go. Take a smell of this. This is probably the fifth steep or so. Nice, very generic ripe aroma to the leaves. The leaves, you can see there's a little, they're not pitch black. So in that sense, they might be a little on the lighter fermented side. Cheers. Good body to it too. I would say like the overall kind of wholeness of the tea is a little bigger here than it would be for kind of your average, right? A little bit of brown sugar too in this. Doesn't really move over to those fruity flavors that you'll sometimes get out of ripe, like the cherry sweet. That's not really here as much. Nice body. I would say for me, at least, this is just a very nice, robust ripe. It has kind of this refreshing feel on the mouth too. Moving on to this next steep over here. It's not fully in kind of like that more earthy mode. I recently got a tea through a friend who picked it up from Malaysia. That's a ripe, a V93 actually, and one thing that happens there is the tea really, really kind of rounds out the earthiness. Because this has been stored in Seattle, just with the rest of my ripe tea, it hasn't really developed those kind of like lower bassy notes in that same way. So not totally unexpected, but this tea being 8 years old, I want to see how it is changing and evolving. So it still kind of has that same sort of tenor of notes there. It's not high noted because it's ripe, but it's not super bassy or low noted because it's not traditionally stored or stored in Malaysia or something. Cheers. I would say I'm trying to kind of measure the sharpness of this, and I would say it's a little less sharp or a little more sharp, I would say, than your average ripe, which tends to be more smooth and rounded. This is still absolutely ripe, still smooth, still very easy to drink. I think looking at it here versus the episode Denny and I filmed, this might be definitely hitting its spot as being like very, very easy to drink. Any of that bitterness and stuff is very, very minimized compared to what it would have been back then in 2015, 2016. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying this tea. I think it's solidly above average. In fact, quite good, I would say, as far as ripe goes. Hard to say how it compares. I know Scott produced another green miracle, I think, just a few years ago. I have not tried that tea, so I can't say for sure how it compares. But I would say this is definitely a solid one. Its overall profile, I'd say, it seems reasonably Mung-Hai-ish to me. I could be totally wrong on that, but and that is a profile that I do tend to enjoy for ripes. That tends to be my kind of go-to as far as like a reliable profile. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next time. Cheers.